Hi, Brian Jones here. I want to show you what I've figured out so far on my 1998 Hyundai, or Hyundai, depending, Accent. It's a 1998, like I say, it's a 1.5 liter. This one's a manual transmission car, which maybe most of them were. Non-AC, no AC. Luckily, that would only make it tougher, I think. But my heater core has been a problem for the whole 4.5 years I've been driving this car. I knew this was going to be a bit of a challenge to do, and my windshield was showing a shiny, slimy residue, especially lately, and probably all through it. Right when the car's hot and I get back in it, start it up and blow the heater, you could totally smell it. And my sinuses and eyes have been burning probably the whole 4.5 years. And I'm all about resurrecting my health right now. So it was like, I don't want to drive this car again. No matter what it takes, no more. So I called a shop because I was trying to get an idea. What am I up against here? I had a shop in Seattle tell me, he looked up at the book, and I could tell he was not being straight up because he said he worked previously at a Hyundai dealership. And I'm sure he knew this. He said, oh yeah, looking at the manual, they give us 7 hours. That must mean the whole dash has to come out. So I started going with that approach. But I did get the thing apart without having to go that far, and I want to fill you in on that. But starting right here, number 1, 2, 3, as far as I'm concerned on how you would start doing this. Number 1, disconnect your battery. I took off the negative side. Always do that. Your heater core has 2 bibs that come straight out the heater core. I don't know if you can see them right down there. See those 2 big round holes behind that row of hydraulic lines that's running across. And so that's where the heater core, and then you can see the hoses right there. See the marks on them, the big ones going back. They have squeeze clamps on them. Worked great. Pair of pliers. Expand them, move them towards the engine, leave them there. And how I got this off, but first, before you go that far, drain your coolant down to get the level down. So back to this then. How I got the hoses loose from the bibs on the heater core itself was I took a pair of channel locks and very gently, without squeezing too hard, grabbed the outside of these hoses and twisted, and they broke loose right away. And that is, a testament to the fact that Hyundai uses some pretty good rubber there on those hoses. I think those are factory, and I'm planning on putting them back on. So here's what I want to show you. I started out, like I said, this guy at the shop was alluding to the fact that, oh yeah, I must have to take the dash off, and he's acting like he doesn't know. This car is 21 years old. You don't think that's ever come up before? And I'll tell you why I'm a little skeptical, because I've worked at shops, and really basically, if you want the bottom line to come out in your favor and with the boss, you got to be a little underhanded with the truth. So, and don't get me wrong, it's not a job I want to do. It's really tough on the body. It's stressful doing this, but still, I don't like dishonesty, so I got the heck out of that business a long time ago. Okay, so I took these sill plates off, then the kick panels, then I pulled the pillar trim off, because I was thinking this whole dash shell was going to have to come off, and who knows, maybe it really is required, but I pulled the gauge cluster out. Didn't even need to do all that in looking back at it now. So here's what I want to say. To start getting access to where you can look in at the situation you're dealing with, you need to get the glove box out of there, right? I've got this opened up on this side. And the heater control panel's got to come out. We'll get back to that in a second here. Come on over here and look at this. Here is the main heater housing assembly. These are the bibs of the heater hose or heater core that comes forward. This cover right here just goes on and it snaps on. You can see this clips, no hardware. These guys are pretty crafty in the way they put these together. So there is the heater core itself. Oh yeah, and before you pull the heater housing out, and this, what I did was I had a piece of, I believe this is 5/8 heater hose, and I put it on one side while this was still in the car after I drained the coolant down, then removed these heater hoses going to these bibs here. Put a hose on one side and blew air through it, just blowing with my mouth breath through it, and spit out 95-97% of the coolant. Otherwise, if you don't do that, you're going to end up spilling it inside the car. And there was a little bit of that afterwards, but consider doing that. Put a piece of hose on there and blow through it, and then you're just evacuating the majority of the coolant that's still in there. So let's see. Now, yeah, here you go. In other words, to get into there where you can start seeing some things, you've got to get your glove box out of the way. And the way this is done is, you see, here's a rubber stop right here, one on each side. These things butt up against the opening, so when the thing tilts forward, these things hit the stop on the opening of it. So what you got to do is you've got to pry this box inward this way, both sides. And you see, I put a couple scratches here. If you really care about it, you might want to put some masking tape over it, and possibly even to extra protection, like some cardboard of like a cereal box, that's that thickness and consistency. Tape that on there as a pad, and both sides, and or your pry bar, wrap that thing with some kind of cushion. But it took some force to push these, to squeeze these in, to be able to get these things to clear going this way of the opening. But once you do that, the thing will drop down towards the floor, and then here's the hinge right here, the hinge bar. There's just one screw here and one screw here. So then this thing's out of the way, and then you got a big access panel. And then also over here, what I did, and let's see, somewhere on here, anyway, somewhere on here is the glove box screws. But what I do is I get cardboard, and I make little notes about what's up, like this scuff plate, I'm calling them, the panel that goes under the door, and the top of the rocker panel, that's some sill of the door, whatever. And then just make notes about little sections of what you're doing. Column right here, column cover, and that's all that whole pile's in the shop right now. Same thing with over here. And I also highly recommend that the more pictures you take and notes that you do, and like I said, laying it out, I've done this under the hood, water pump jobs, whatever. I've been doing this for years, and it really pays off when you go to put it back together. And so, and also when this thing came out of here, and we're going to go inside and I'll show you some specifics on how that, look, here's one here, and then down there's 3 of them right there mainly. Like I said, make notes while you're taking it apart. But before I figured out about something I'm going to show you next, I was really getting frustrated forcing this. And this tape up here, this foam right here, the seal that goes up to the top ducting where this mates up against, it was really dried out. You can see there's a middle piece here. It's still there, but it would not take any abrasion. It just crumbles. So what I did was I got some of this rubber foam tape. This is a smaller size. I didn't use this actually. I just wanted to show you what the package looks like, right? So here it is right here. This is what I ended up using. This was about the right thickness this way to match that up there. And it'll be worth doing, because if you just pop it back in and you've already destroyed the seal, you're going to lose some efficiency there. So anyway, and also like this piece right here, I'll show you where this goes. It squeezes down, obviously. It just expands into place. But on this end of it here, and this factory foam seal right here is pretty pliable still. It's pretty good, but some of the adhesive had come apart. So I used some of this right here, double back tape, and I put it together. So this thing's going to be ready to go back in. So let's go back over here. And oh yeah, here's what I want to show you also. Before you get ready to pull this thing out, maybe right after you get your heater hoses off and blow that coolant out of there, here are your grommets that go around these bibs right here through the firewall. Once you get those out, see, you can see the expansion of the opening you'll have afterwards. So yeah, take those off. That rubber, once again, is factory original 1998 or late 97 rubber, still in really good shape. So back over here now to this guy. Like I said, once you get, oh yeah, let me get that light out from under the hood. We'll go over to the right side first here. Oh yeah, and while I'm thinking of it, I want to show you this too. This right here, I don't know if it goes this way or this way. I think it would probably be this way. Those screws right there are the ones that go, yeah, you can see the matchup right there. So this bar will come off and give you way more access to. So back over here to the area that it all came out of. So yeah, and also look under here. See those holes right there? That's where your heater core bibs go through. Now, one thing you can do is put some of the hardware back in place if it makes sense, like this one here. I put it back in, and now these right here, you've also got to get your heater control panel right here out of here. Now, this is the way this thing mounts. Right down here, see there's one screw here and then over to the other side. Those are accessible when you pull your ashtray out. You'll see those two screws. They're Phillips head screws. And then the other things that hold this in, it was a little tricky because I'm not used to this stuff. I like the older cars. Right here, see this right here? 1, 2, and there's the same thing on the other side over there. You can see them. Now here's the type of clips that you've got. You've got these, they expand, and it just snaps in place. Here's one here, one there. Of course, they go right in here. Now I'm not really sure. I can't remember how I got the pressure to pull this out, but before you do that, here's one of the cables right here. This control cable goes up to here. I'm not sure which one it is, doesn't matter, but Hyundai made this where, I don't know if you can see this very well. These are actually, you just grab the top and it snaps off. It's a snap together. Listen to this. See, snap, you're in there. And then you just reach up in there. Really easy. All three of them are like that. So you got to disconnect those two, and then the other two, might as well show you all the way of the visuals. That's what the video is so great about. So that is on the driver's side over here. So here we go. Here's where the other ones go. Same thing. You just snap open. Don't even need a tool. You can reach in there with your fingertip and get it. So you undo those 3 control cables, and then pop your main heater control panel forward. See, I'd already not only started doing all that extra stuff to possibly take the whole dash out, I started popping the knobs off here. Didn't need to do any of that. Whether or not you'd have to unplug these, I'm not sure. They actually have some slack, but they're super easy to pop in. This one, I never did figure out how I was going to get that. Didn't have to. As you can see, I've already got the main housing out with the heater core in it, so just got to reverse the process. And what else was I going to show you that, oh yeah, here's a key thing right here. And this, I was getting flustered. That gets in the way, so don't drink a bunch of coffee first like I always do. But right here, put this back on there, there's some kind of a control module or microprocessor, whatever the heck it is. It sits on this stand right here. And this goes right under the housing. So there's 3 bolts that hold this thing to the stand. You can get that. It goes a lot of slack in the cable. Just push that over there. This thing will actually come all the way out. It gives you a lot of room to wiggle. And then, and you got to look around. I mean, look, there'll be some pretty obvious, very minimal actually. There's one of the studs right there that a nut goes on. I showed you the tabs on the heater box itself. But here's something that may or may not have made the difference of how I was able to get that out without pulling the whole damn dash frame. And I'm telling you, I took a lot of hardware out towards that end. It was a nightmare, and it's still on there, man. I don't know what, hopefully I'll never have to figure that one out, and I don't think I will. But you see this strap right here, which I have hooked onto there's a metal brace. Where are we at here? See that metal brace? It's wrapped around there. And so I went all the way back here, and I've got it hooked into hooked into this latch right here, see? And then this ratchet right here, you can get a little bit of torque. I actually pulled, like the rib spreader when you're doing open heart surgery, right? I pulled it back, and I don't know if I absolutely needed to do that or not, but I was able to pull that main part of the dash, and it's mostly plastic, didn't crack anything, and there's very little metal framing in there, so it does flex. Now that may have made all the difference to save me a ton of labor of pulling the whole thing out, but it shows that it can be done. Now I don't know if a legitimate shop would do that, if that really was bending the rules, but hey, it works for me. Hey, let's see if there's anything else I want to tell you. I will say just off the top of my head, when I put this thing back in, and I always do this anyway, on these, I've already got the new heater core. And by the way, I don't know if I told you this, but the shop told me, the one I called that was kind of I could tell the guy was like acting like he didn't know, like the book says this, so you must have to pull the whole dash out. That's why they were telling me that this job was going to be $1,100 plus tax. Anyway, I got me a new heater core. It looks like a real nice one. I got it through Napa in my little town for $79.95 plus tax. Anyway, when you put this thing back together, I would put a light bit of Vaseline or dollar store petroleum jelly on there. It works good. I always do that anyway when I mean, it's a great lubricant grease that I use for, I mean, it works great on top of battery terminals, the old style clamp on like this car has. If you coat that, it works better than the stuff they designed for that. So just keep that in mind. And let me see if I've covered everything so far. I guess so for now. So this is the first video. I just figured that might save somebody a headache, because like I said, this was $1,100 in this state plus taxes, like $1,225 give or take. That's more than the car's probably worth. But I'll tell you something, this car's got 172,500 miles on it, and it's got a lot of life left in it. I love this car. This car's gotten me through the last 5 years, and it's been pretty challenging. I mean, I don't know, I'm gonna have a hard time ever selling this thing, really. I'd probably keep it off to the side. And you know what, when I get my money, I'm definitely gonna go to the Hyundai dealership, and I'm not going to buy something on the showroom floor. I'm going to get paid for driving a couple door dings home. Anyway, all right, I'll be back. I'm going to get this thing put together, running, and I'll be back to show you the after mathematics.